start the meeting, call meeting to order. Rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Chatham?
Present.
Mr. Griffin?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Okay, first order of business is appointment of Civil Service Commission. Barb Fry has said she would be willing to serve in that position.
Is that going to be in addition to the planning or?
Yes, in addition
Okay.
to. They don't meet that often, and
Right.
so she said she'd be willing to do it. And we need a commission soon.
We do. I just wanted to make sure she wasn't leaving planning to do it.
No, she is not leaving
Okay.
planning. So she likes,
Good.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm abstaining. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Approval of the previous meeting minutes from December 21st. Anybody have any additions, corrections, changes, whatever you want to call it, for those minutes? Okay, then the minutes will be approved as sent to us. Meeting on January 2nd. Any discussion or changes, additions on those minutes? Seeing none, then those minutes will be accepted as presented to us. Approval of operational reports. Building inspector, finance, fire, police, public works, water, wastewater, treasurer, monthly reports for December. We received those. Do we need to do a motion on this?
Yes, to approve the reports. I do just want to add, Mayor, you had asked me about the treasurer's office and the date
Yes.
on some transactions. Clarified with our treasurer, the deposit was actually put together on 12/8, which makes sense on that Friday. And it was actually deposited on Monday the 11th. That's why it's showing the 11th.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions or anything for the reports? Okay, motion to accept those reports.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second that.
We have a first, second, anything else? Okay, voice vote. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Manager's report, Neil.
Yes, Council, you received, as you got here, my city manager report. I'd be willing to go over each item, or if you want to go through it and have any questions, clarifying questions, I'd be glad to answer, Mayor, whatever you would recommend.
Everybody want to just look over a second or two if you have any questions about it, or if a question comes up after the meeting, we can also get in touch with Neil to get it corrected or answer your question. Did you want to point out something in particular? I thought you said.
Yes, yep, thank you, Mayor. On the last page, council action items and council consideration. We have two businesses that are looking to establish in the city. One is a physical therapy business, and the other is a special needs medical clinic. Both these potential businesses have locations picked out in our downtown district. It has come to light in our zoning ordinance that prohibits medical offices in our commercial 1 and commercial 2 districts. Both businesses must apply for a special variance. I know you're probably going to ask, well, how is Middleton Chiropractic and Express Care, how do they all become established? Great question. That being said, to help, both businesses obviously, as I said, will have to apply for a special variance. To help speed up the process, I'm asking for council's approval to work with our city solicitor to draft an ordinance change to allow this. Once I have that draft ordinance, it'll be provided to our planning commission, which has 30 days to review, make a recommendation to council. And obviously, part of that process is a public hearing as well, and that'll be scheduled. By allowing me to work with our solicitor and work on a draft ordinance, we'll save both businesses costs and speed up the process as well. Again, it doesn't have to be a vote. I'm just looking basically for your blessing to be able to work with our solicitor to help these businesses essentially not hold them up from potentially
Right,
starting
and
up.
we would still have a vote on the actual ordinance when it came back to us through planning,
Correct.
so.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that too.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Do we have to approve, vote on this?
You have, on the manager's report you do. I don't need a vote on the approval to work with our solicitor.
I'll motion to accept the report.
Second.
Okay, we have a first, second. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. And do you want us to vote on sending it, letting you work with them, or just,
Nope, you don't need to. You give me your blessing, I'll work with it and obviously come back to council with.
anybody have any issues with them doing that? Okay.
Okay, thank
Go
you.
ahead. We don't have any minutes from boards or authorities, and we don't have any council committee updates because no council members have gone to a committee meeting, so I don't think we can update. So we'll move into public participation. And I don't see anybody jumping up. Old business, nothing. New business, Titusville Senior Center.
I'll jump up.
Okay.
Good evening. My name's Herb Butcher. I'm proud to say I'm on the board of directors of the Titusville Senior Center. I don't know how many here are familiar with that center, but it's a good organization. And I'm here tonight to say on behalf of that organization, thank you. And we're very grateful for the money that the city has allocated us. I believe those monies came from a performance bond from Raccoon Refuse. The monies will be wisely used, I assure you. I don't know if you're familiar with what all we do, but our membership is everybody 60 years old and older. We offer various activities. About 25% of this community, their age is over 60. So we have lunches 5 days a week. Just tons of activities, educational activities, arts and crafts, bingo, card games, crafts, and our executive director, Ashley Thompson, is trying to get a kiln down there for some more crafts. And the facility that we rent from the city, we have social rooms, game rooms, craft rooms, and an average month we serve about 500 lunches. We have about 350 people participate in one activity or another or on trips. And with the monies that you've given us, we like to increase those activities, enhance them. We haven't allocated them yet. We haven't had a board meeting to go over it. We just know that they're needed and they will be used to help enhance the quality of life in this community and for people 60 and over. Not everybody here is over 60, I know, but you're still welcome to come down, look around, visit. We'd love to have suggestions and input. And again, all I can say is thank you all, and you're welcome to come down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You ladies are up.
Hello, I'm Emily Altamar. This is Abby Coppiscue. We're both from the Oil Region Alliance to talk about the new Gateway project on Route 8 South. I always give directions by fast food restaurants, so past McDonald's and over the bridge and on the left-hand side of Route 8, where the old wooden derrick used to stand. That was put up back around 2009 for the celebration of Oil 150. It fell into disrepair and had to be torn down. And now the Oil Region in Titusville. We are working with an Erie-based artist who has some designs that I believe City Manager Freitas has already shared with you, that kind of very rough sketch. But his concept is a metal sculpture that will incorporate themes of outdoor recreation as well as the oil heritage. So what he is kind of starting with is a derrick structure with elements of nature and outdoor recreation like kayaks or canoes and wildlife and plants that would be visible from both directions, whether you're traveling north or south on Route 8. And it would incorporate color. It would be designed in a way that's powder coated or something similar to that, so that it would be rust resistant, low maintenance. We are doing this with DCNR funding in part, so they have a requirement for it to be in place for 25 years. So we definitely want whatever is built there to last that long, hopefully longer. I know you guys have some background information already on this, but I think that I can pretty much is a good introduction to what the project is. This is something that we actually applied for funding for from DCNR back in 2020. There's also national park funding going into it and tourism funding going into it. So we're also here with Abby's got all the, the paperwork regarding the MOU with the Oil Region Alliance and the City of Titusville.
So you have all read a preliminary draft of the MOU. I've made some changes based on some feedback that Neil passed along to us from the solicitor, et cetera. To direct your attention to number 3 on the MOU, City of Titusville responsibilities. That has changed to the City of Titusville will maintain the visual appearance of the gateway display and conduct an annual inspection of the sculpture and notify the ORA of possible repairs to be done. So that's taking a little bit of the work that we were asking the city to do. Now we're just asking for a visual inspection and circle back with us, and we'll make sure the appropriate repairs are done on that. Let's see. Under number 4, we have changed the last item to, or we have added ORA will own, insure, and maintain the sculpture. So we hope that that alleviates some of the liability concerns for that piece.
Doesn't it say in item 3 that we're responsible for repair?
No.
You're looking at the
That's
old
the
one.
original.
The new one is, I think, right beside you.
Ah,
Over to your right farther, John. There you go.
okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
So that's okay. So bullet number 3 on that one is that the city would be responsible for maintaining the visual appearance. That's like knocking out birds' nests, things like that. Yeah, sweeping off mowed grass or whatever, what have you. But we'll conduct an annual inspection of the sculpture and let us know if there are potential repairs that need to be done. And then, so number 4, yeah, we've added the ORA will own, insure, and maintain the sculpture. And that will be, the artist will give us a list, a maintenance plan for that we'll follow. And we'll share with the city too, but it'll be our responsibility for it to be maintained. Let's see, number 5, number 2, under number 5 has been changed to all incomplete projects will become the responsibility of the Oil Region Alliance. So the city is not going to be responsible if the project doesn't reach completion. And number 7, we have added, it shall be active, this MOU shall be active from, well, the date does need to be changed. So it'll be whenever you're ready to sign it, for 25 years. And that's, DCNR, as Emily said, requires, it to be in place for 25 years.
So will the date be the date that it's put in, or the date we sign the memorandum?
This will be when we sign the memorandum. If you were wanting to sign it tonight, for instance, if you took a vote, we could probably just scratch out the date and, you could still sign it.
Will it tie in at all to what's already there in terms of color scheme and
Yes.
that it won't look like two
Right.
random standing things there?
Yes, so colors that are already existent in the gas pumps that are there. And again, something that's going to be, the artist has already visited the site, so he's considering the landscape and what else is there. There have also already been a couple of changes made to make a little more space there. So that it ties in with what's going on with the fence and, or not really, the wall, the sidewalk, the replica gas station. Yeah, so we don't want those two things to fight with each other, but kind of one enhance the other. And it also ties into talking about the other murals around the Titusville area, like Black Bridge and the brewery mural here. Kind of, again, those concepts of the oil history, but also outdoor recreation, the things that make Titusville a place you want to come and visit.
And this will be an announcement that you're in the oil region. This is the Queen City of the oil region. And it may be, we're looking at it as a model potentially for other landmark cities in the oil region, National Heritage Area.
Are you considering the other places that the derricks were?
Not necessarily for
Right.
this because it's expensive and
Yeah.
special, but at least that location and this big artistic representation for that location for now, and then probably other things in the area as gateways throughout the oil region.
Sculptural gateways have become popular in the last probably 10 to 20 years. Erie has one on State Street, done by an artist as well. Greenville has one that ties into outdoor rec. So it's just sort of a more modern way of announcing that you're in a special place.
The Oil Ridge Alliance is working on a wayfinding and kind of branding plan for the region. So there would be additional signage that would potentially be at those other sites where the other derricks were coming down the line. That would be something that we worked in that plan, but they would not be as big a project as this, at least not on our
To be determined.
vision or timeline. I mean, it would be really cool if we did get to that point, and maybe someday we will, but not in the immediate future for us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Will we see a finished rendering of it or have any kind of say in any of that before it actually goes up? Because this is pretty sketchy.
Well, and yeah, well, it's literally very sketchy. We'll have more communications and discussion about it. We don't even have the artist under contract yet because we needed this MOU signed before we were able to do that. So there will be lots of, maybe not lots, but there will be definite, like, more concrete designs from here that we'll be able to share.
Our funding is sort of dictating a timeline for us where ideally we would get it in the ground in June. And we'd like to have it in place for Oil Fest and have a ribbon cutting and things like that. So it's a pretty sped up timeline with getting all of these pieces together and deciding how we were going to go with this. Did take some time. But yeah, we would certainly be happy to come back to council with more advanced rendering once we were at that stage.
Okay, I guess my other question feels more for you, because I'm glad to see that this new one at least has an estimated cost for the city in it,
Yes.
but do we have that money?
So it's in kind.
So
They're
the
not financial.
materials
Yeah, yeah.
could potentially run a cost.
Sure. So Scott and I have had the opportunity to sit down with Emily and Abby and go over what our responsibility would be with
Right.
footers and different things and concrete. It's not an issue.
Okay.
We can do it in-house, obviously with no issue. It will be some cost of materials. Scott, I don't know, do we have a rough guess from what we talked cost-wise?
About $3,000, $1,200.
Probably total
Okay.
for all the work, so, yeah. It's no
That
problem.
doesn't count your man hours.
Yeah, that's not common.
Right, but that's
Materials.
material, that's material
Materials.
cost,
Yep.
okay.
And then, I'll have to talk to like, Wagner or somebody with the cranes and set it in, so it can. And that's not figured in that price. Folks that maybe go, get his name out there, and donate some time.
What was the total cost of the project, funding that you have for this?
Around 60,000.
60,000? Okay.
Do you have a deadline you have to spend it by?
June 30.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's why you want to have it up and then,
right.
So that's,
Yeah, we'll have, the process will also include like engaging an engineer and, getting those drawings and things like that too, so.
okay. Anybody else have questions? Or is everybody willing to vote on this at this point, move it forward so they can get going? Get a motion,
I move we approve.
make a motion to approve? We have a second?
No, second.
Okay. We have a second, any other discussion?
As long as we make sure the dates are right on things.
yes, we'll get that updated start
Okay.
date.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, none. Motion carries. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Resolution 1 of 2024, setting our meeting date and time. Everybody should have received it. We're meeting Wednesdays at 6, first and third Wednesday at 6. Both are voting meetings, and the first one will also be the work session for the most part. But if we have anything we have to vote on, we can handle it at that time. We need a motion, I guess.
I'll motion to accept that.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll
We have a second from Gary. Any other discussion? Okay, since it's a resolution, we have to do a roll call vote.
Yes. Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Chada?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. On to the next one, resolution 2, firefighter turnout gear.
Yes, so this is a resolution of the City of Titusville, Crawford County, Pennsylvania, adopting policies for the procurement and purchase of firefighter turnout gear with respect to the presence of perfluoroalkyl and polyfluoroalkyl chemicals, commonly referred to as PFAS. I am not looking to vote on this tonight. Neil and I spoke before the meeting. We'll give a little time for everybody to look over, but I can give you a little bit of background on it. So January is Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month. It's the leading cause of death among firefighters, both active and retired. And a common cause is PFAS, perfluoroalkyl and polyfluoroalkyl chemicals. So these have been linked to widespread cancer, and they are in all 3 layers of firefighter turnout gear. One of the initiatives that's been undertaken recently is for government organizations, locally, state, and federal, to pledge that when alternatives to these PFA-containing equipments are available, that we will purchase those PFA-free alternatives. You can see also Section 4B, that if we cannot find alternatives, that we can continue to purchase as we have, provided that we label all the equipment as containing PFAS. This is partially so that should any of our guys get diagnosed with cancer, if they wanted to go back and try to get benefits, they would have a clearer path with labeled gear.
Anybody have?
Yeah, any questions?
A motion to table this, is that you want?
Yes, if we could move this to probably the first meeting of February, preferably.
Is there any performance difference as far as flame retardants,
The
thermal
market
protection?
is not caught up yet. So there's really not very many PFA-free alternatives
Okay.
at this time. So that's another push going on right now. But that would be something we could consider. It says, that provides protection, personal protective equipment that is sufficiently protective. So basically,
Equally
without the
protective.
discretion of the city at that point.
Is the durability is good or not?
What's that?
Durability of these?
So far, I mean,
Not long
yeah,
enough.
there's not enough on the market to be tested and approved.
What's the cost difference?
Right now, because of the scarcity of PFA-free alternatives, it's fairly expensive.
So
but-
I feel like it needs to be worded something, and I'm not saying I don't put anybody's health at risk, but if the only way that it's worded in here is if it's available,
Yes,
then
sufficiently.
you're stuck with 3, 4, 10 times the cost if it's available somewhere, even if it's new, so the cost is prohibitive
Yes, and
for small fire
essentially,
departments.
yeah, for we could rework that. And again, this is part of why I wanted to introduce to everybody so we could discuss it for the next meeting.
Okay, so we get a motion to table this to the next meeting?
I'll make a motion to table resolution 2 until our next meeting.
Second?
Second.
Okay, got a second? Any discussion before we vote on it? Yes.
If I could just add, council, I have brought Dustin into this conversation and some firemen as well, just to get some thoughts. They had reached out to our vendor who we buy our turnout gear for. Obviously, it's not available through them. They were still trying to understand, the difference. And again, I think one of the questions was cost. It was quite a bit more, again, but it's not available yet. So I just think it's important that they're involved in that conversation because they're the ones
Absolutely.
that
I would
deal
agree.
with purchasing. So that's all I wanted to add.
Okay. Anything else? And since we're voting to table, this can just be a voice vote?
Yeah.
Okay. Voice vote, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, the ayes have it. Before I forget, I should have said this earlier. If we do a voice vote and somebody would prefer to have a roll call vote, just say that and we can do a roll call vote on an item as opposed to a voice vote. If it's, more controversial, we'll see. Next up, purchasing policy bid thresholds. Neil?
Yeah, council, this is just something every year. We get notified beginning of the year that what the bidding costs have gone to, what the cap amounts are. And again, this is just the council's approval to affirm that that's what it is.
And those
From
are
the state.
thresholds that are changed
By the state.
potentially on an annual basis.
Yes.
And it's done by the state, and
It
we
is.
can't change it, so we either
Have-
accept it
must
or we can't
agree.
go out for bid.
Yeah.
I guess, or whatever.
Right. And we just update our policy each year with what the amounts have changed to.
We have a motion on that, you want to vote, right?
Yes, please.
Motion on that,
I'll make a motion that we accept the updated purchasing policy and bid thresholds.
okay?
Second.
Got a first and a second, we have any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, voice vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, passes. PennDOT agreement.
Yes, council, this is an agility agreement between the city and PennDOT. Essentially, we have always had an agreement. It was a 5-year agreement previously with PennDOT. Basically, PennDOT currently gets water from our hydrant down at our public works garage. We charge them, which is about $414 a year to have access to that water. PennDOT in return assists us throughout the year with different things. Obviously, they take care of several streets within the city, the state routes. Basically, our relationship with PennDOT is a give and take. They assist us, we assist them. Here's an example: is this year they're going to be tar and chipping Brook Street. They've reached out to us, reached out to Scott, and offered us the chips if we were interested in that. Obviously, it helps us. We don't have to go out and buy any. We're able to use those chips to fix some of our repairs and some of our roads. Again, this is a 5-year contract to continue on with PennDOT. Our recent was in 2019, before my time. I hadn't seen the previous contract. I was just advised from the state that it was up. Reached out to Scott, and that's what the agreement's for 5 years.
So it's basically the same provisions.
The same
it's really
provision
didn't
as
change.
before. Yep. And we still continue to, they still pay for the water when they use it, the hydrant. We still work together with them.
Any other questions for Neil? Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the PennDOT agreement?
I'll make a motion to accept.
A second.
Tom? All those, any other discussion before we vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Capital spending.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Mayor. I was just gonna, Council, this is brought before you. Obviously, previous administration had passed the 2024 budget, including the capital needs by each department and what was approved and not approved. The mayor had asked it to be on the agenda. Scott Brown is here, our Public Works Director. One of the items on the capital request was for a mower for our Parks Department. So coming before you, before we make purchases within our capital budget, obviously it's something that previous administration had voted for. Wanted to just advise, because obviously these are items that are much higher cost than a simple item. Our Public Works Director, as I said, is here to talk about the Kubota with our Parks and Recreation Department. It was approved by previous administration at $17,500. Scott would like to move forward with the purchase of that item. And the reason why is because it's 6 months out before we would even get the piece of equipment. So we'd have it for spring and summer. Scott, I don't know, would you like anything to add as far as our current mower, things like that?
The current mower in the past year has created a lot of problems. Its next mark right now, Mercury process does not carry that mark anymore. So parts availability, they're hard to find. Right now, to meet our needs, would exceed the value of the current mower. The current mower has 1,724 hours on it, and which is a lot. The mower that we're looking at is a Kubota ZD1211. It's $17,500. We have put into trade in Steiner for $8,000. So the was it $9,800?
Much cheaper than what we budgeted for in the capital for this mower.
But this, it's a diesel, a lot more efficient. It should run a lot longer than any of the trucks that I've ever ran. The past few years, we've put on a lot more burden onto our parks department, with the airport, with the new park, with up on the heights, with that, extra on there. This also has a greater mowing speed. We'll have a rear discharge. That way they can get up close on either side of the deck. It'll have a 6-foot deck. So that should help expedite the mowing process.
How big's the deck on the current mower?
It's 5 foot. Yeah, and right now right now I've been working with Tim, and I'm trying to see what we can do to help out with the mowing. And also we've had it on the dog park now with talk of the BMX track. They're feeling overwhelmed, so I'm trying to really work with them to try to get the as much the most quickly as possible. Let's be honest.
The bigger deck will not cause a problem with the trailer?
No, the deck allows for a 6-foot line.
Okay.
We've already checked into that. Now, a side discharge, 5 foot. So, but this mower is commercial inside and out. The X marks have kind of been, kind of a homeowner / commercial grade. And the city, I know from personal experience, they're gonna see a great savings on fuel. Diesel's about $1 more a gallon, but you're gonna see a big cost savings on what you're gonna use diesel versus gas. Right now, we just ordered a brand new Kubota 2 years ago for the wastewater, but it has the Kawasaki gas engine. It likes gas like crazy. It just goes through it. I never seen a mower that uses so much gas. And I've talked to other manufacturers that they've had the same experience with the Kawasaki engine. It's a good runner, but and at 3 something a gallon right now. Sometimes it's been 4 something a gallon. You're going to find probably over the life of the mower, you're going to save the price of it just in fuel savings.
What would you expect the hour life of this mower to be?
You should be up into that 3,000 to 4,000 hour range, if not more. All depends on how well it's taken care of.
How many hours do you get a year?
Right now, well, he's mowing probably about 1,200 hours. Well, and that's only one person. We have also Ryan's usually with him all summer long, and he's mowing right along with him. So we're trying to keep 2 mowers going all summer long. And like I said, we've added on the airport also.
The airport doesn't have a mower?
Not a 0 turn.
Okay. They just have a lot of equipment out there. I didn't realize it wasn't a mower.
And we've even talked about pickup on the nights to try to save some time. That big field there that really nobody's using. Maybe we'll bring in one of the airport mowers for like 3 times a year and just mow that field and just keep it down until we can establish it.
Now, what's this gonna do about leaf collection? The current mowers, he hooks up that leaf collector and collects leaves. Is this gonna hook up, or is it we gonna
We
have to
still
buy it?
have the other one that hooks up to the leaf collection. Because in fact, the leaf collection is on not on we're buying a new leaf collector this year because the other one's like 15 years old. And the ag fab, it's just there's really no commercial one for behind the lawnmower. So it's like a homeowner one. And Tim's been using it for about 8 to 9 years. So. But it's all figured into this year's budget.
Any other questions? And also, the capital, that's really one of the few things that council can really pick. We can't do much about salaries and that kind of thing. So this is where we can argue and change things. So I wanted everybody to be able to see all the capital that is in this year's budget. We need to vote to approve his spending or not?
I guess probably just a blessing because it was already approved. I just want to confirm, so Scott, the total price on this would be $9,800, not $17,500?
Right.
Okay, just so council's aware, it's about half of what.
With the trade-in, and it's got a list of almost 23,000. That's the list price we get that savings from the way we purchase things through the state.
Neil, does this have to go through bid?
No, not this item.
Okay.
Yes, nope. So don't need a vote, just need a blessing to be able to move forward with what was budgeted, so.
Anybody have any problems with moving forward? Okay, seeing none, I see no reason not to.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is farmer's market ordinance.
Yes, so these are just some changes that we had looked at. Do you all have copies of this?
No.
Oh, Okay.
I apologize if it didn't get sent out.
I just got it today.
Sorry, in fact, I asked Gavin for it because I couldn't find it, so my apologies. I can, sorry,
So,
Gavin.
yeah, essentially, I was just seeing if I could get the blessing of the rest of the council to have the solicitor draft something.
So can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
I think that we need to have a working group that includes those at the farmer's market prior to sending something to the solicitor and having him spend hours of billable time crafting something that then nobody agrees to,
Or
So-
nobody wants.
or nobody wants.
Lydia Carter was invited to come.
Yeah, I
give
talked
her
to
input
Lydia today,
and
yes.
is not
She's not available tonight.
available tonight.
But she said she would be very happy to give input,
Yes.
preferably not at a council meeting where it's just the first
Yeah.
orientation,
Uh,
orientation, that first discussion. I think everybody agrees that it needs work. I mean, there's some sections that are issues in there.
Yes. Okay. Well, yeah, it would be good to have input from Leah and work on that.
Would it also be good to get input from the vendors?
I would think,
Yeah, if the vendors would be,
Yeah.
willing to
To-
come.
Or she could get a
Yeah,
couple vendors
absolutely.
who
I'm
have.
sure that's something she could
right,
do.
so,
Yes.
so I know in their off-season, they begin to meet, through Titusville Renaissance in that committee, to talk about the next year. So this would be a good time to reach out to get a working group together of the stakeholders, that would be interested potentially in having the market back in town. If they're not really interested in that, not that the ordinance doesn't need work one way or the other, but if they're not really interested in moving back in town, then again, do we want to spend billable hours to change something that isn't going to be used at the moment?
If council would like, I would reach out to Leah and see if we could set something up and communicate with all of you to see if we can get a working group together.
Mhm.
Okay.
And we just can't have more than 2 council members there, is that correct?
Yeah, you could appoint 2 to sit on this group if you'd like. Yeah, to have that
Is
discussion.
there 2 people who would like to be, I assume Gavin wants to be on.
Sure, yes.
Sarah, did you?
If that's, timing is a real issue for me. If we can work it into my schedule, I would gladly do that.
I'll try to get some available times from them and pass it on
Yeah.
to you and
Yeah.
Gavin, and then we can work
That'd be
together.
If they have a meeting that we could attend or something,
Yeah.
I don't know what their meeting status is with the vendors.
I will say my hope in this was to get it done fairly quickly if we can start to meet with them. I know they start to plan their season, they begin in May, so they start planning, February, March, so if we could.
Tom, if Sarah can't make it, would you like to attend?
If it's a time that I can make,
Yeah.
yeah. If it's an evening thing, it should be fun.
Okay. So there you have it. One of these 2. Work it out. All right, next item is authorities, boards, and commission, council appointments. I've talked with everyone. We have the list somewhere. Had it earlier. It is. Okay. Airport Authority, we really didn't have a council member want to do it. Scott and or Neil go to that as it is. So for right now, we'll let them do that, and if at a later date we have somebody from council who wants to step up, we'll surely welcome that. Benson Memorial Library, Sarah is currently on there, correct? And you
Yes.
wish to stay on that?
Sure.
Yep. Board of Health, Tom has said he would be willing to be on that. And he said he'd fill that whole committee.
Does that have to be city residents?
No, they do not.
Okay.
They have to be certified and they have to be, work in the city or
Okay.
head office or something like that in the city. Building Code of Appeals, we'll figure that out later too. They haven't met in the last 4 years, so we probably don't have to rush to get somebody there right now. Civil Service, Gavin said he'd like to do that. Ethics Board, Gary said he would like to do that. The Firefighters Pension Fund, it's myself and Gary, because that meets at 8 in the morning and no one else is available.
Can I come back to the ethics board? I think
Yeah.
there's a vacancy on there.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
There's also vacancies on other boards. And I have a meeting tomorrow with the Titusville News Journal, and they're going to run an article trying to encourage people to apply for the jobs, or the positions. If anybody back there wants one, we can hand them out.
Hey, Mayor, real quick, you're on firefighters pension fund. I got an email today that they're meeting on the 25th. I'm not sure if you both
I
were
got
passed on
one.
that.
You may not have gotten it. They sent me all the information.
So 25th, I think at 8 a.m., Gary, at the fire department, or police
And
department.
that's the fire, and then the police is right after it at
Yeah.
9.
Yep.
And I can get you the information. Or
Yep, we'll get it too.
I think I have the same form as you as the issue.
this is, I don't know where I got this one, but.
Yeah, because I didn't have ethics on, so I just wrote it down there. So some of those other ones I don't.
Because there's a couple more on here that aren't.
Yeah, that's fine. I got it.
Housing Authority, Gavin said he'd be interested in that one, so go for it. Police and Pension, again, it's myself and Gary. Planning Commission, did you say you wanted me to do that? It's a noon meeting. My wife is there already, so I
There
can
you go.
attend. Yeah, then we'll do lunch. Redevelopment Authority, Tom and Sarah both have indicated that they'd like to be on it. I have no problem with them both going, or if one of them can't make it, that better chance one of them is there. Shade Tree Commission, their next meeting is March 12th at 6 o'clock. I haven't had a taker on that, and probably, since I've been on that committee before, I will probably take that one. Unless somebody else really wants it. We have a Shade Tree Commission, which is made up, Board of Appeals, which is made up of only council members. And that happens if Shade Tree denies or somebody, whatever they want to do, they can appeal it, and then the 3 council members hear their appeal and then make a decision. I don't believe that's ever met. And if anybody wants to be on a board that hasn't met, we can appoint. And I don't know if that's something we may wait to see what it is.
Can that be ad hoc, like
Yeah.
if an appeal comes up, whenever ones are available?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because if
Yeah,
it's, if you put me on and I'm out of town for a month, then
Right.
it's not gonna happen.
Right.
You know, so, and there's probably timelines on how, when you have to meet by.
I
Or-
think the council members have to be appointed for so long, I think there are terms. I don't think you can just choose as they come up. I think you have to pick 3 and it's like a 2-year term.
I'll have to look at the ordinance.
I'll have to double check on
Okay,
that, I
yeah.
can send that information out.
Okay.
Zoning Hearing Board, did I have somebody say they wanted to do that? I don't have it down. So we'll have to look for that one also. I do have somebody who might apply for that vacancy. I think I covered all of them.
Yep.
We don't have them all filled, but we covered them. So we don't have to vote on that, do we?
No.
If there's somebody that you can get on that's interested in a board, they have to apply for the spot. Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the application's online, and I also thought I brought some today, was gonna hand them out to all the public.
I have them at City Hall too, if you
Okay.
want to stop and grab one, but
Okay.
it's the citizens application. And it's under, the forms tab on the website.
It's under boards and authorities too, I think it says, click here for an
I think
application.
so, yep, I think you're correct.
That's how I
It's
got
the
it.
same application for
All of
For
them.
all.
Yes.
Next. Sewer refuse loan resolution of number 27 of 2020. This was a prior council, prior to the last council, spent money from water, sewage, refuse in the general fund, and the council that followed them didn't like the way they did that, so they did a study and they determined, and I don't know how all it worked, that $460,000 in that budget was, in their opinion, was a loan and had to be paid back. So 2 years now, they've been paying back $92,000 each year out of the general fund, which is basically 3 mills of taxes every year going back to the water and sewer and refuse. And I don't understand, it's not an even split or how it was done. I don't know the prior council, the one that made the overpayment or over expense, did anything wrong. I can't testify to that because I wasn't there. I don't know how it worked. I don't know what the charges were for. I don't know how the last council worked that all out and came up with those numbers. And basically I'm trying to say, and we've talked to the solicitor, we're not under any obligation to continue to pay that $92,000. We can put it back in the general fund and we can buy mowers or whatever we need to do with that money as opposed to giving it back to others. So I would like to discuss that. I think because this is a budget item, we have a deadline of when we have to do this by. So, or we can do it today, whatever you guys want to do. That's where I am. Neil, do you have anything to add?
No. So I'm thinking about it. So, right, I wasn't here before 2020. In 2020, council at that time passed a resolution 27 of 2020. Basically what happened when administration came in 2020, previous administration in years, each year transferred money out of refuse, water, and sewer to help with the general fund. Each year it went up quite a large amount.
But it was also to pay for services that the public works people did for water, sewer,
Yep.
refuse.
Yep. So
Yeah, so this is only part of the,
That's,
Yeah.
yeah, the
So-
460 is just a part of whatever was there.
Yep. So 2 administrations ago, their way of justifying that was they did percentages of where folks were working. They were working in water, sewer, refuse, wherever they were. Council came in 2020, didn't agree with how it was being allocated. A time study was done for most of 2020, tracked public works employees, see where they were working in water, sewer, how many hours they were working there. With that, when that time study was complete, council at that time decided that $460,000 wasn't, in their mind, justified a balance. Previous administration in 2019 had transferred $900,000 to balance the general fund. 460, the last administration felt we can't justify and show where that even makes sense. So that council elected to call it a loan and said we're paying back this 460 over a 5-year term of 90-some thousand a year in their minds to make it right because they felt they couldn't justify that amount. If that makes
and at
sense.
the time it was needed in the budget because it had been passed
Yes.
previously before
Right.
they came on.
Right. There
So
was
they
no,
had to use it,
yes.
and then that's why it came below.
The budget in 2020 was balanced with the 900,000, so nothing could immediately
So
be
you
done,
couldn't take it up.
and the change came in 2021.
And we'll add also that moving forward,
Yeah.
we are using a number that closely
Yes.
reflects their study that they did with increases as salaries go up and that kind of thing. We've increased it, but not to the degree that the other council backed that did.
Yeah.
So,
So we had a conversation with our solicitor, current solicitor, regarding that. Our current solicitor provided 2 resolutions, 2 options for current council to consider. One is essentially a resolution of the city of Titusville, Crawford County, forgiving the remaining balance of the loan from the city, the refuse, water, sewer funds authorized by resolution 27 of 2020. Simply just rescind it and that's it. Another option is a resolution of the City of Titusville, Crawford County forgiving the remaining balance of the loan from the city refuse, water, sewer funds authorized by Resolution 27 of 2020 and limiting such future intra-budget transfers. Basically, it reiterates based off the time study that was provided in 2020 and showing that any future transfers from refuse, water, or sewer funds to the general or other operational funds of the city shall be limited to that amount which can be justified by the time study performed by the city to reimburse the city for employment costs incurred.
One thing I would like to see maybe added to that, unless there's a new time study done that would show that it's changed.
Sure.
You know, if we do a new study and we find out that it's gone up or gone down, we make that change in that time. And they'd probably just do a new resolution at that point, so we wouldn't have to.
So I had asked the solicitor, because the budget was approved with us paying the $90,000 back at the end of the year, how would that be adjusted? And he said it would be an unbudgeted grant reward is basically what, kind of like how we do when we get a grant. It's unexpected, it comes in, we just make that change in the budget, so it's not an issue.
And I did talk with Heather, and she did not think it would be a detriment to water, sewer, or anything like that either, so. What is your choice, or your pleasure?
So this doesn't really set a cap on anything.
No.
As far as the disbursement of water and sewer funds in the future, if we would need it, and it's.
It just makes sure that if we choose the one that has the caveat that it's,
Yeah.
we can justify, or whoever's here
Right.
can justify what money that they're transferring over.
And did have a conversation with
Yeah,
the
you know.
auditors to confirm that, and they said, we just want to see consistency, that's all.
If something would happen where they'd have to replace lots of water lines some year because the infrastructure is getting older, then we would be justified in increasing that amount, I assume. And that would have to come from Public Works or somebody asking for that because of that reason. What do we want to do with it? You want to think about it? We do have some time, is that?
Yeah, I don't think time is not an issue at all.
Well, I thought with it like being a budget item, we had a certain time to change budget items.
You're right, February 15th is the deadline to make some changes, yes.
So we could do it at the start of the next meeting if we want,
Yeah.
or we can do it today, or we can, I don't know when the next meeting in February.
February 7th.
So we wouldn't be able to wait till the second meeting in February
No.
if we want to change it.
Do we have to advertise for 10 days to,
No, that is, you're thinking of the next item on the agenda, if there's some changes made.
just wanna make
Don't get ahead of yourself.
I just wanna make sure. We have deadline.
So our options for that would be to accept one of those two proposals.
Yep.
To just simply rescind it or
Yep.
rescind it with a provision without any cap.
Or
Okay.
continue paying it.
Or
Right.
continue paying it, you have
Yeah.
3 choices,
All right.
yes.
And if you're comfortable making a decision today, that's fine. If you're not, that's fine too.
Again, all this was confirmed with our solicitor to make sure there was any legal issues. He drew these up today, in fact, so.
We want a motion to table or a motion to move on?
Yeah, why don't we, I'll make a motion that we table it until the next meeting,
Okay.
just so we can think about
Yep.
which one we already know we're gonna do.
Which of the two?
Yeah.
You're thinking that way as opposed to not doing it?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
We have a second on that?
One second.
Gavin, second. Any other discussion on it before we vote? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll table that till, put that on the agenda for next week, not next week, next meeting.
And Council, we'll make sure you get both resolutions. If you have any questions, just please ask.
Next item is, because I asked for it, Raccoon Refuse Performance Bond. Now, probably we're not gonna make any changes, I'll accept that. I would like to say that every one of those projects is worthwhile. I just don't think that was the right money to use for that, and I will tell you why here in a minute. Whenever we lost Raccoon Refuse, or they defaulted or left or whatever they did, the new company coming in, our rates went up $13.14. We got $375,000 in the performance bond. Is that the correct amount?
$349.
$349. Okay. Recalculate that. And the city spent $75,000 picking up the trash for that period of time. That left a balance of $274,000 of money, which, again, if we have these projects that we should do, which I agree, they're all good, then we should have found money in the budget to do them. This money, I felt, should have gone back to the people who saw the $13.14 increase in their garbage bill each month. If you took that $274,000 and divided by the number of garbage customers we have, which we have 90 commercial, 1 industrial, 87 public customers, which I'm not sure what a public customer is, and 1,985 residential customers, for a total of 2,163. I did not realize all of us pay the same garbage rate. Industrial, commercial, whatever, they're all the same rate. If you take that $274,000 and divide it between the 2,163 people, that's $126.67, or you could reduce each person or each customer's account $10.55 a month, which would mean it only went up a few dollars as opposed to $13. Those are the people who I thought should get that money back because they're the ones that were paying the increase. But that's just my opinion. And I just wanted to get it on the record more than anything else.
How long could that $10 reduction last for? How many months?
12.
12.
So a full year, which in August,
August,
we're
we have to
redoing
renew our
it, so
contract.
that would have been more than the rest of the contract. Or you could have increased the amount and gone shorter months, but fewer months. You could have played around with it however you wanted. Or you could take that $274,000 and put these projects in and still give them something back. And that's all numbers you can play around with, which politicians love to play around with. So.
Well, my concern for a lot of these is the one that jumps right out at me right now is $150,000 for playground equipment for the Ed Meyer complex. I've been going down there for baseball games for years, and I have never, or very rarely, seen enough children down there that wanted swings or gave any. They're always happy to go over into volleyball courts and play in the sand if there's any down there. And I'm certainly not against giving the youth of town something. I just think that's kind of an exorbitant amount without knowing what you're talking about. You know, I mean, it was never said we're going to have 2 swings and 3 slides, or that was never told. I mean, there's a few other ones. If at some point we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of this, that I don't have an issue with anything, but like the mayor, and I think a lot of it comes down to communications. With no daily newspaper or nothing in town, nobody knows what's going on until all of a sudden this pops up that council voted for this and this is the way they voted. If there was any public input, we never heard it. And Sarah knows as well as anybody that this is a large group in the audience, you know? And so, and I remember reading something that there were a few things that I think Sarah was less than thrilled about, you know, when it came to this vote. So I think we should seriously look at some of these things, and it's not to take anything away from the senior center or the associated charities or anything like that. But you know, just in this town, $150,000 for playground equipment just seems like an exorbitant amount.
And as Herb said earlier, a lot of our residents are over 60 and fixed incomes, many of them, and that $13 more a month was a shock to them, I'm sure, the first time they got it. I don't know how bad it hurt any of them. I can't answer that. And since Gary threw out the number 150,000, if you wanted to do a 12-month reduction there, that's $5.77 a month, which is a little less than half of the thing, or half of the increase. Again, if you wanted to make it a shorter period of time, that goes up, but I don't know. That's just was one of my complaints that I wanted to mention.
And I'll just speak, I voted no on this the first time around. Not because these weren't worthwhile projects, and I mentioned that at the time. And now that the money's been allocated, however, and projects and groups and organizations are looking for that money as part of their operations and enhancing what they're doing, I would not be thrilled about rescinding any of that. And you know, once we've kind of promised things out, and I get $150,000 for playground equipment is a lot, but the reality is that's basic playground equipment, right? That's unfortunately what, I mean, we're not getting huge.
2 swings and 3 slides.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we're not getting this, you know, huge amount of playground equipment because, unfortunately, in today's world, $150,000 doesn't buy you more than kind of a basic equipment for that. And I do want to point out something that Chad had said when they voted, is that the programs and the items that were picked are a cross section of our community. So it wasn't one group that was that really got a windfall here and to the detriment of others. It was all age groups. It was across the spectrum. Some things came back to refuge, like the second e-waste items, which are a refuse item. And I know it doesn't recoup the money, but there has been a $2 reduction to the bill for the time being. And I have the same point that you did, that for some people that $10, $12, $13
And they may have to
is a lot.
decide between that and their medication.
Yeah, right. And I made that point. And these are all worthwhile things, and who are now counting on the money. So there's a few discretionary things in there, like equipment, but I would be really
And I would be honest,
disappointed.
I wouldn't want to touch the 10,000.
Right, or associated charities.
10,000 isn't going to be
It's not a
significant.
Yes.
Make or break.
150,000 does give some money back. 10,000 is not much in regards to the rest. It's a lot to you guys, and I know that.
Right.
But to divide it between all the customers, it's not.
So that's just my 2 cents on that.
Well, that's fine, and I guess what, I very rarely am set in my mindset right off the bat, you know. If somebody could explain to me how we came to these decisions prior to us deciding what we're gonna do, if we're gonna do anything, I, at least personally, would feel better, but I've had more than one person say, can you believe? Well, no, but I'd like to find out, you know, at least what the thought process was.
And I will say, I was at the meeting when they first presented and discussed throwing out different things. I did not go to the meeting that they voted on. I don't know if I was sick or I was in town or whatever, but I wasn't there. But I did email everybody on council at the time, telling them my opinion on it, which meant nothing, but I did do that.
So anyway, that's, I'm done with my little tirade.
Anybody feel we need to do anything with this or just let it go?
Can I add?
You can.
If council wants to do something, change, modify, maybe some things are okay, some aren't.
15.
Yeah, third class city code requires if we're gonna do anything with the budget, because these projects were allocated in the 2024 budget to make changes. A lot of things had to happen just quickly. February 15th is the deadline. The problem is we have to advertise if there's gonna be changes. And according to the ordinance, which I wasn't aware till the solicitor provided it, if you're going to change anything in the ordinance, it can't be an upward in excess of 10% in the aggregate or to an individual line item in excess of 25% of what's in the line item.
So we couldn't even take the full 150, we'd only take 25% of that.
Depending what else is in that line item, we'd have to look. Again, I'd have to get his assistance on how to understand. I just know the deadline's the 15th if we were going to make changes to anything in the budget.
I will say about a couple of these items as well. So grant rating services can come back,
Yes.
you know, in multiple ways for us. But even, you know, enhanced pickleball courts, you know, that is such a huge draw right now that potentially can be used as well as a, you know, as a revenue source in terms of
Recharge?
tournaments.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say recharge.
No, but in terms of, you know, tournaments and those kinds of things, it's the
Well,
it's
if
the
it
fastest
brings people
growing
into
recreational
town, that's-
sport I going right now.
And probably the 25% of our population 60 and over is a high percentage of the pickleball players, I would imagine.
Yes.
So they already got 10,000.
But it is very popular. So when the Y has their open pickleball hours and when it's nice out, you know, 20, 25 people come on a regular basis. And, you know, the younger in the crowd are 40s, 50s, and there are people well into their 80s that are really good and it keeps them active and so.
Okay, I feel better that I at least got to air my grievance on it.
And there's not much of that, even if we said, hey, there's only a certain percentage you can take back.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly, like, as far as pickleball courts or playground, I mean, we can shop around. I mean, we've been trying, so when council passed it, we were on the phone trying to figure out, get costs. And I had mentioned about, we had a representative from Game Time come up, and you're right, it's ridiculous the amount of money for playground equipment. And one of the pieces of playground equipment they provide, I think it actually had 3 slides on it, and they wanted to provide, well, you mentioned 3, so that's why I say that. And the swing set had 6 swings. And again,
Way more than we got.
4 more.
What's that?
Including handicap swings.
Yes, including handicap swings. Again, but you know, it was 130,000, but then you have to think about the ground surface and everything else that goes along with it. Again, it's pricey. I mean,
And they gave us a huge discount.
it did.
All right, I would say probably the best thing to do because of time constraints and everything and not wanting to make everybody upset with us. Just pretty much letting this go, but again, I just had to voice my opinion and I had a chance to do it, and I appreciate that.
And did some of the money go to the associated charities?
Yes.
That would also benefit people who would need.
10,000 for.
And it's helping pay for water, or
15,000 to associated charities total.
10 for the
People-
bills and 5 for the food
10,000.
pantries.
Yeah.
I should have brought it.
yeah, like I said, everything there is good, and I don't have a problem with any of them getting money. I just didn't think it should be that money. It should-
That's what I said at the beginning.
Yeah.
Also, that it was hard to vote no because they are all very worthwhile things.
But now we can start using some of that 93,000.
There you go.
If we get that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody feel different than what I just said? Just getting out of this and moving on? Okay, we'll move on without any action there. Pre-treatment coordinator designee agreement. This is something that needs to be updated because it hasn't been since Penny McLean was here,
Yeah.
which
I saw
was a while ago.
a long one.
Because she was hired, I believe, in 2006.
She was several folks ago.
She was hired in 2006, and she was gone by, I don't know when. But, yeah.
For some reason, they now bring it to our attention that
I
it
was
needs
on
updates.
council.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just allowing me to sign off on all of the pre-treatment documents and reports that come in that we work with the wastewater plant to work with our engineer.
And you've been doing that. is that
I've been doing it all along, yeah. I guess they need something on paper to say that it's okay. So we just need council's vote to agree.
Willing to continue in that capacity?
Can I table it? Think about it.
correct? No, you can't. We
Oh,
could.
okay. Oh, okay. You're right. I guess I can't.
So I'm looking for a motion to name Neil as the pre-treatment coordinator designee agreement.
Motion.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. Public input. I don't see anyone jumping up, okay. Comments by mayor, council, and junior council. We'll start this side today.
I guess I don't usually have much to say, but it's nice to see directly that the senior center and things are benefiting from the Rocky Refuse thing, so it's nice.
If I offended anybody with my little tirade about the playground, I apologize. But it's just that number jumped out. It really did. And I'm glad we took care of a lot of the housekeeping things we did tonight. Get them out of the way so maybe we can deal with some larger issues down the road.
Well, this concludes our first full meeting of business, I guess. I appreciate everybody who came tonight, all four of you. And I look forward to continuing to work with my fellow council members.
Okay, I don't really have too much comment tonight. I would like to commend Public Works for now that you're working 2 shifts. I see the trucks out in the weather and treating the roads and plowing the roads, and it's much appreciated that that's getting done efficiently. And I know that's easier when you don't have to call people out to do that. And so it's the streets look good. And just remember to check on your neighbors if you see, their sidewalks aren't shoveled and things. We have a lot of over 60 folks in the town. In the town, we were just saying, in these cold temperatures, making sure that they're okay. And other than that, it was nice to see efficiency in tonight's meeting, and hopefully that will continue as well as we have longer agendas. And so that's it for me tonight.
I don't really have much to say either. I will say I agree with Gary though about the playground. I think that's just kind of the reality is kids don't really use playgrounds much a lot of times, but I think a new one would really help, especially down there where a lot of times it's little siblings when they don't want to watch their older siblings play games. I think that would really be nice for them, but I do agree not with his opinion on it.
Yeah, I do agree that it is a chunk of change. It would, it'd be interesting to see how much use that does get. The figure it does seem astronomical in the context of, shortages everywhere. But it will be, all those things are nice additions to the community. Well used.
I think that's one of the most eye-opening things on council is the cost of some of the things
Oh,
that
yeah,
you would think would not be that expensive, that just and then you add government red tape to it, and then it's ridiculously expensive.
Anything else? I really have nothing other than to thank Rebecca and Neil for all their help this week, getting prepared. Again, people came out, everybody go home, stay warm. I don't have anything else, that's it. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you
February 7th.
February 7th.
Cool.
We don't.
That's fine.
Well done.